Good Tuesday morning, North State. Chief Meteorologist Preston Dunyan here, giving you a breakdown on wildfires across the region, not only here in Northern California, but Southern Oregon and Western Nevada, right? These are all fires that have had impacts on our local communities, whether that's actual active burning or smoke seeping into the region. So we'll take a look at that smoke, but first I want to walk you through those fire perimeters and what we know about these fires as we head into Tuesday. Now, I'm recording this about 8:30 on Tuesday morning, so it gives you a little sense of what you're seeing here in terms of perimeters and hotspots. And of course, this information will change throughout the day. So if you're watching this later, make sure you're staying updated on those perimeters, those evacuation warnings and orders, and etc. But let's take a look at those fires and start with the MP18 fire in interior Humboldt County. So again, a reminder, what you're looking at in pink there is that latest available mapped perimeter of the fire, and then what you're seeing in red and orange are hotspots detected by satellite, right? And this is going, okay, there's clearly something active burning there. And that gives us a sense of where the fire has spread since it's been able to be mapped. And in red, those are hotspots within the past 6 hours. So these are very recent. And then in orange, those are in the past 12 to 24 hours. So going back to 8:30 in the morning yesterday is really what we're seeing with those hotspots. But in red, you can see what's really happened overnight. Since sunset last night into your Tuesday morning, a lot of growth there on that northern flank, kind of bordering up against Highway 96 there north of Hoopa, but really running through that rugged and remote terrain. Very difficult landscape, but very easy for fire to spread through. And that's why when you read the Incident Management Situation Report published daily by the National Interagency Fire Center, that explains that extreme fire behavior. That's what they're seeing with this blaze, that it remains very, very active out there. And they describe crowning and uphill runs. Now, uphill runs, much more self-explanatory, right? That means the fire is just running uphill. And it's running very successfully in that sense because it's easy for fire to spread uphill, right? Heat's going to rise. And so even though you have a fire down at the base of a hill, you're having that heat rise up, dry out the fuels, and prime it for ignition. And so it's very easy for fire to spread on an upslope landscape. So that's why this mountainous terrain is really, really difficult out there. You're going to see these fires make these successful runs uphill. Slow down a little bit going downhill, but this mountainous terrain that you see out there in interior Humboldt County and into Siskiyou County is definitely going to be a little bit troublesome. Trinity County as well. So we'll keep an eye on that, right? Fire growth likely to the north and east there on the MP18 fire. We now shift to the California-Nevada border and take a look at a couple different blazes that are really active in Nevada. Now, this started as the bug fire off of US 395 there in California in southern Lassen County over the weekend, but has erupted into a massive blaze in Nevada now, north of Reno. So you can see that here. This was 2 fires yesterday when we talked about it, right? This is the bug fire. This kind of spread here, continued to spot out ahead, and then you had the Fred Mountain fire start in this vicinity here. Those have now merged, and together, as of last mapping this morning, the bug Fred Mountain fire complex, whatever that name will eventually become, I believe it's still just the bug fire, that's over 44,000 acres, so still very active, and you are seeing spreading on kind of all these different flanks. And now one thing I want to point out is that we are seeing these wind lines here on the map, right? There's this light blue, and that's showing the current wind speeds and wind direction in that area. And as you head into Nevada, right over the California border, you're getting this southwest breeze. So that's driving fire activity primarily here to the northeast. And that's something that we have seen in terms of spotting, right? North and eastward growth of the fire. And this is a fire that's also exhibiting active fire behavior. The official report, again, the IMSR that I mentioned, active fire behavior, wind-driven runs, short-range spotting, and flanking. So flanking is when the fire is growing out in a direction that's kind of parallel to the growth of the main run, right? So that's where you're seeing this growth out here because our fire is mainly spreading in this direction, but you have this kind of outward creeping on the sides that are showing up in those hot spots in red and orange. Very active over the past 24 hours there. Now, we talk about wind-driven runs. That's where this wind that's very gusty there into Nevada is driving the fire to make these fast advances in the direction that wind is going. And then, of course, we talked about short-range spotting, and that's where the fire spots out ahead of itself. That one's pretty self-explanatory, but we've seen that with the bug fire, and we are also watching for that potential when we look here now at the Stallion Fire. So this one is particularly concerning. Now, when I recorded yesterday morning at about 8:30, we didn't have have this fire even on the map. This was just starting in that 8 o'clock hour on your Monday, and it is now over 20,000 acres here on Tuesday. So in 24 hours, growing to be a massive blaze. And you can see a lot of that growth really in all directions away from the lake shore. So you have some backing on this one a little bit, right, against those winds, potentially if those winds continue to run out of the southwest. But really in this rugged terrain, you're seeing those winds come off the lake. And so that's really going to be driving that growth to the south. So it's not really necessarily backing as it looks this morning, but it is something we can keep an eye on. And so we're watching that to be another fire that's quite active, with the possibility of some spotting on that one as well, continuing to grow out in all directions, especially those aided by the wind. Now we'll shift north and take a look at our final blaze on the map for us. This is the Wrights Spring Fire. This is in southern Oregon, north of Klamath Falls. You can see that fire perimeter and a lot of growth on the north and south flanks. Now the wind reversal that happens over the course of the day, right, these diurnal winds, during the nighttime hours, the evening, we have north winds that push that fire and that smoke activity mainly to the south. And so that's why places throughout Siskiyou and Modoc counties here in Northern California have dealt with really poor air quality most mornings over the past few days. But what we're seeing with this is that fire activity also grows in that direction, and then you have a little bit of a south breeze that shows up. And so that's why that activity is mainly on the north and south ends. And of course, fire crews are working diligently to put an end to fire spread in different directions, and certainly have seen some success in terms of no hot spots out there when we look at the east and west flanks of the fire. So very positive signs in some regards, but overall, these blazes all remain quite active and will contribute to some smoky skies in some areas, mainly near to the fires. We aren't really watching for many impacts out of the bug or stallion fires locally here in the North State, but you are going to watch for Trinity County to see some air quality impacts from the MP18 fire, and air quality to improve generally in places like Mount Shasta City and Alturas through the day before worsening overnight again, and at least seeing some haze for many communities as we head through into your early Wednesday. I hope you can all stay safe out there. I'll keep you updated on fire situations as we roll through the week, but I hope, again, you are staying updated to the latest information. This is still coming from your Tuesday morning. So if you're watching in the afternoon, make sure you check up on all your sources out there so that you know that you are ready to go as we continue through wildfire season.